Summon a monk, normal one summon a monk, discard a spell, special summon a Grepher or Armageddonite, discard or send to the grave, whatever, overlay, send the next piece to the graveyard, and pretty much start. If you have another monster in here, if you have another fiend monster, chances are you already sent enough monsters for you to have the whole setup and the Stygian in the grave, where you remove and just go off.
Okay. That's pretty good. Unfortunately for me, I do not like Summoner Monk, and I have talked about it in my monster thing that you can use it. I don't like him because I only run about 10 spells, and they're all really like defensive spells. And really, the only card that I'd be able to pay the cost is Dark Hole. I'm like, I really don't want him. And what are the odds I'll have them both?
Well, in the typical monk builds, the monk versions of the Avenger builds, they tend to run pod dualities as discard fodder.
Yeah.
Or like Alert Darkness or something else that you could use, like even Instant Fusion they would use. Simply because Instant Fusion becomes a possible fodder card, or you can actually use it to get easy access to a Synchro or an Exceed. Or Monster Gate. You could have it for fodder for Summoner Monk, or you could actually go into go into Summoner Monk, use the Overchain to set up the top deck, set whatever traps you have left, and if you have only Monster Gate left in the hand, normal it, and you can actually literally, from that right there, go completely into having the 100-eyes loop on the first turn.
Nice. No, I know you haven't been watching my channel for long because you haven't been on YouTube for very long. But have you ever seen anyone use this card?
I used to use it.
What?
I used to use it.
Yeah?
Outside of you, I haven't really seen anybody use it in Infernities, per se. I see it more in Chaos Dragons.
Yeah, which is obvious because you special summon
staple for pretty much for it.
Any dragon type. But
yeah.
I think this is very nice tech for me, just because when I used to run 200 eyes, I'm probably planning on taking this out just because I'm down to 100 eyes now. But when I had 200 eyes, I would get this out late game, special summon 100 eyes, and have a 22 and a 3000 Beater out on the field. And they would have to get rid of this card before they could get rid of 100 eyes. So I'm just thinking. What?
Attack-wise.
Yeah.
But you still on it.
I don't know, but it's just like I think it's like it's a good play if you're losing, because back then it's like I didn't have a lot of the key Infernity stuff and didn't have a lot of stuff that.
It's a cute tech. It's a cute tech. I've even seen people using OCG in the sense where they would use it in Beetle builds and Avenger builds, where they would set up and exceed into that. After having the whole 100 eyes loop, they would somehow exceed into that and then bring back out a Void or another 100 eyes.
Just have that extra 3000 Beater on the field. Because I did when I first started playing Infernities and I did the loop, I figured out a way to be able to have her out on the field and four others. And four other your big four dragon monsters out on the field. And it was just a simple loop that you just did a little bit extra at the end of the normal Infernity loop to be able to special summon her.
I can see how that works and all that. It's actually quite good, because like you said, you used it in the beginning before you had all the majority, because you're still missing the two barriers as you told me, but the majority of the staple cards for Infernities. So I can see where you were going with King Dragon overall.
Yeah.
Use.
I mean, it's a useful card, but it can't be used all the time. I mean, a lot of people prefer this card. I mean,
I do.
I mean, honestly, it was a common.
For us. Yeah. I'm telling you now, that card rates Spirit Reaper, because you use this effect, Spirit Reaper flips. Now it's getting targeted by the effect of minusing it for 600, it gets removed from the field.
Yeah.
That's it.
But if you watch my me versus like the Final Countdown build, it was a combination of both these cards that allowed me to win. Why? Because I went her to have the 22 out and could just attack into the monsters because they had gravity bind out. Then later, because of playing stall, I'm like having a whole bunch of cards in my hand and have a hard time getting a bunch of stuff out. So, in using effects and all that. So I get a top deck of a, it was a top deck of a Armageddon Knight. Then I was able to get out and I already had an Archfiend out. Then I proceed into Photon, flip, and attack into it with this. So it's because they had a Zodiac piece set. And I just tapped into it. Connection between you two is slow. Oh, that's not good. Probably because something's taken up. But these two made me win against the stall deck, just because I was able to exceed.
Being able to get any form of advantage, but stalling against stall decks, I tend to beat them out way too fast to stall against me. And I have so many answers. But I laugh when they put Marshmallow in face down defense.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, break. Or hello, but Inferno Doom Dragon. Where is your defense? And it's great when you blow up that main, the Inferno Doom Dragon, you book him, and you blow him up since he stays down, his effects don't activate.
I've done that. It's pretty sweet.
It's just like, that's just not right. I'm like, no, you can't activate his effect. He's face down. Face down monsters do not have effects.
I've honestly had a lot of people, I book moon it, and they try to use the, I book a moon, card D, and the guy goes, can I still activate the effect? No, because it's face down. You can't activate the effect to be able to tribute it. So, it's fun.
One of the funniest plays I did to somebody was, you know how most typical decks now, since Tour Guide went down to 2, they summon if they summon Tour Guide and they grab Song, if they actually do grab Sangon, they leave Sangon in defense position, leave Tour Guide in attack position. They usually don't execute with it because they want you to kill Sangon so they can get their search.
Yeah.
Well, somebody did that to me, and I mind controlled their Sangon. And I overlaid it with my what was it? I went Tour Guide, Necromancer, left Necromancer in defense as a stall, overlaid the Sangon with the Tour Guide into Zen mains, and told the person to go, and they could not get over the 2 walls. Got to the point I top decked started top decking everything I needed. The worst was, in that one I actually top decked Beetle the next turn and went to Gotcha. Now, it literally got to the point where they could not get over, and every time they did something, I blew up so much stuff, and Zenmains was not able to be destroyed. He had 2,400, I think it was 2,500. I think it was defense.
Yeah.
And the majority of monsters cannot get over that. So it's like, okay.
Now I have to ask you about this, just because you said 2,500. Gem Knight Pearl. What do you think about Gem Knight Pearl?
I don't know. It's beneficial and bad at the same time, where I would prefer an effect monster over a beater the majority of the time, but I see where he comes in handy. He gets over Stardust, and, you don't have to worry with that. But for that, in my personal opinion, I wouldn't run it because I already have Gaia Knight.
Yeah.
As a level 16 girl, so it's like, okay, you go into this, I just go into Gaia, I swing, or I continue to synchro into a bigger monster and tell you fuck you and have a nice Sunday. I don't know, like it's so-so. It's situational for me.
Well, everyone that watches my channel should already know that I absolutely hate him, and it's the reason I hate him is because it's a -1 every time you go into it. Because you're using 2 rank 4s, or 2 level 4s, to go into 1 rank 4. And then you can't get those level 4s back until that card is destroyed.
He's good bait, though. He is really good bait. There are some dumb people that really would, like, bottomless trap hole that and just, like, send your materials to the grave for free and set you up for some decks. Or they can pulse it, but the majority of the time he's, like you said, he's a -1 and just, he's situational. It depends on the deck that you're running most of the time, because he's only really good in a deck that has a real, like really, really good in my opinion, in decks like Dino Rabbit, where you have things to back it up.
Well,
so you'll have the beater, though he won't have no effects, which in this time in Yu-Gi-Oh! Way more than just having vanillas out on the field.
Yeah. But that's the thing. If like for Infernos, we don't have to worry about being able to attack for a 2,500 monster. We have our 3,000 dragons, and then we have
a 3,000 Shien.
Yeah, and then we also have a Doom Dragon, Scrap Dragon, Dark End Dragon. We have all this stuff to get rid of your monsters. And we have barriers and stuff like that to stop your effect. And it's like, there's no point.
Speaking about Doom Dragon, and going back into my deck conversation somewhat, Zero Max, people do not like this card. But I have used it on Doom Dragon, and brought back Doom Dragon, and I had somebody tell me Stardust. And you cannot use Stardust effect to negate Zero Max, simply because it's uncertain. It's not guaranteed. So they literally had to destroy their monsters. They would have a completely wiped field, and I would just sit there with a 3K beater saying, put a monster set down so I could blow it up and give you direct damage, or put a monster in an attack position so I could attack over.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. But honestly, there's just no. I have to ask you, how many Sit Samurai matches have you faced?
I've faced a couple. I was building the deck at one point. I faced a couple. Well, I'd say about a handful. And what I have put in, one card that really did put in work against them was Orient Dragon, where they've gone like Notorious Beast first turn, or Notorious Beast and Shien, or Barkion, or whatever the hell it is. And you'd have them out, and I'd be like, okay, sync. They would have like the effect one, and then the one that negates spells and traps. Like sync to 6, remove the effect one because it's part of his thing, and I think they can negate it. But once you negate it once, chances are you're really not going to try to negate something more than once.
Yeah.
And then I would be like, okay, go into. I would go into IDD most of the time when I would face them and blow up their monsters literally one by one, and have barriers and breaks set to deal with the rest of the stuff that they would pop out. They could be extremely fast at times.
Yeah.
And if possibly by the right person, could be a strong match. It could be a real strong deck to play, and a real horrible amount of a nightmare to play against. But to me, in my opinion, I still see them. They're like tier 2.5 in my opinion. I don't think they're tier 1. They're not tier 2 yet, in my opinion, because they haven't topped anything outside of regionals. And they need to. They have the ability. They have that competitiveness in it. There's just something missing to push it to that next level for some reason. Just like Infernos. Infernos could be tier 1. It's just missing that little extra oomph to give them to be there. People don't look at Infernos, and I'm saying this now.
That's what they're missing. That's what they're missing.
All they're missing is the Lava Chain, to be honest with you, and they'll be tier 1.
Yeah. But since we have the deck already, it's good.
Should be coming out the end of this year, but like I said, when